And the worst part of it is, he doesn't even read the books. He just goes on the Game of Thrones wiki to deliberately look up obscure characters so that in conversation he can go, my favourite character just so happens to be Shagwell. Pretentious bastard. Anyway, that's why I don't trust the YouTube atheist community anymore. So, the Jimquisition. I don't normally like to do the whole please like and subscribe thing unless for a joke, because I think it's a bit tacky, even though it's actually good for your channel, and my channel needs all the help it can get. But a lot of subscribers complain that they don't get notified by YouTube, because YouTube is less useful than a gun holster full of nipples. So what you got to do is hit subscribe if you do want to subscribe and get notifications. You've got to hit subscribe, and also the bell icon, little picture of a bell, and that'll get you notifications. It's good that when you subscribe to something, they add more steps to make sure that you, to protect you from, for no reason. So Green Man Gaming has a new metric to help determine the worth of a game. If you don't know what Green Man Gaming is, it's like Steam but with 90% less crap and 90% less popularity. Their new metric answers a question that gets asked a lot despite there being no reasonable answer. Until now, that is. Green Man Gaming, doubtlessly using a team of crack researchers and the funding of a private military company, has somehow managed to convert time spent playing a game into real dollar value. Now you can know how much money a game is worth by how long it lasts, something I would have thought utterly impossible until Green Man Gaming literally broke science to do it. Think of the savings! This new metric is called average cost per hour, but frankly I think that fails to be both catchy and informative. I hereby propose a new name for this figure: utter fucking nonsense. Green Man Gaming's new move was spread around via Mike Rose, who said it was helping to perpetuate the massively dangerous idea that the price of a game should be based around how many hours you get out of it, and I think is right. The graphic being shared about the place is this one, which shows Into the Woods being worth £3.35 an hour, presumably based on how much it costs versus how much time people spend playing it. And if you can't already see the red flags in such a ludicrous idea, you might be perfect for a job at YouTube or Konami. Suggesting the hours equal value mentality is massively dangerous might sound like hyperbole, but I tend to agree with it. For years, people have demanded games simply be long. When I was writing video game reviews, any critique that didn't go into time spent playing would inevitably be littered with comments asking how long it is. I could just tweet about a game that I'm playing and people would ask how long it is, not interested in anything fucking else, just how long is it, how long is it, how long is it. This has gone back years and years. I still recall with great unfondness the debate over whether or not Portal was a worthy game because it was about 2 hours long. Never mind the fact it was full of well-designed puzzles and contained a narrative that launched 1,000 shitty memes but was actually funny itself. Never mind the fact its gameplay and story were perfectly suited to the 2 hours and could have risked overstaying its welcome were it longer. And that's the biggest issue with this utter fucking nonsense, and why it's utter fucking nonsense. It's completely devoid of context. Some would and have argued that it is by itself the context, that it helps paint a better picture of a game's value in tandem with other metrics. But it really bloody doesn't. Where in this chart does average cost per hour work with anything else shown? We already know how long people are playing it, we know how many are completing it, we know how many own it, and we know how highly people are rating it. Exactly why do we need the ludicrous cost per hour metric? At all, except to promote this concept that time spent is quantifiable money spent. And it's not a quantifiable, objective thing. All the other parts of this image are. You can't necessarily debate the facts and figures of everything else because it's, you know, real data. This fucking thing ain't data. It's obfuscatory absurdity, and it ought to, if I'm being diplomatic, fuck right off, mate. Unlike all the other numbers, the cost per hour is completely subjective, and that's why it's so thoroughly useless where it is, sitting on top of the actual worthwhile metric, stuff like average playtime. If you're one of these hour pushers who determine value primarily by length, like the court fucking jester you are, you will doubtless have your own idea of what a game's worth based on its price, its average duration, and your own personal values, because again, it's a thoroughly 100% incontrovertibly subjective personal number. For God's sake. For example, I myself am a proponent of the idea that length doesn't reflect on a game's quality or worth. In fact, often being turned off nowadays if I'm told a game's got hundreds of hours of content. This is because I'm an adult with shit to do, and only a very special game can keep me on the hook for hundreds of hours. If it's not already exceptional, if it's not Bloodborne, I'd actually prefer it to be shorter. And again, like with Portal, I believe certain games should end, you know, when they're ready to end, not after some arbitrary time limit is up. That said, I still think the running time can factor into a game under certain circumstances. For instance, Star Wars Battlefront should never have been a $60 game with a $50 season pass, primarily because it launched incomplete and needed the subsequent DLC to make a full game, which meant Electronic Arts wanted $110 for one product which is insulting and despicable and needs to be brought up. Fucking bastards. Similarly, that notorious Sony bollocks known as the Order 1886 was about 4 hours long for a full-price AAA game, and worse than that, the story was incomplete and ended with a sequel hook so badly placed and presented that I genuinely thought the ending was a fake-out and I was about to play the real game, before I realised that really was it. The Order is now about $20, but because I don't determine a game's value primarily by its length, I can tell you it's still not worth that much. It's a poorly written, mundanely designed, by-the-numbers AAA shooter. One victim of the cost-per-hour mentality is the poor bastard who hears a game is short and waits for a sale to pick it up as a result, not realising they might be buying a game like The Order, which stinks in the first hour, let alone the fourth. Conversely, Dungeon Keeper Mobile takes 24 hours to mine just one fucking block. Since this means it takes days just to excavate enough space for a single room, that means it's worth spending money on, right? Oh, except spending money makes the game shorter because it speeds everything up, which means it's worth less? Greg, is it worth less? Wait, what was I saying? Why am I looking at footage of Dungeon Keeper Mobile again? Where the fuck am... The CPH, short for complete pissing hackery now, is the kind of stupidity that has led to companies like Ubisoft making maps like this. It's the cackling little goblin at the heart of sprawling open worlds, lacking in personality but full to the brim with copy-pasted enemy camps and collectibles but no substantive fucking content. Just nebulous, desperately repeated stuff. And from this, I continuously blame everybody who's ever asked me how long a game is for Dynasty Warriors 9, its woefully shitty open world map, and what they did to Zhong He. And of course, this whole attitude is reflected in this year's buzz term, live services. Let's look at my favourite recent chart, this clump of unsustainable bullshit from the aforementioned Ubisoft. We've already talked about how game publishers want to not do their jobs and publish games because they've worked out ways to keep us hooked for longer, so I won't go into that, but I will talk about the method a lot of publishers like Ubisoft, Warner Brothers and Activision Blizzard are using to keep us hooked for longer, which is, well, getting us actually legit hooked on their addictive glorified mobile games that cost $60. Games with gambling mechanics, games with bullshit currencies to falsify investment, games with daily login bonuses. These are just the obvious ways in which games try to encourage compulsion over quality. Attempts to keep you caught like fish rather than provide you a game you play because you, I don't know, genuinely love playing and aren't just wasting time in it because you logged in for a bullshit public event, so you might as well farm 10,000 cum crystals while you're there. This is not to say, of course, that farming cum crystals cannot be enjoyable. Under the right circumstances, item farming can be fun, if it's designed to be fun. But once again, this just brings us right back around to context, subjectivity, and all the other things you simply cannot boil down into a stat. And even though it sounds like it, I'm not really mad at Green Man Gaming specifically. If anything, they're just tailoring to an incongruous demand that's existed for at least a decade. But this culture of attempting to break even the most subjective of concepts into fucking statistics or algorithms can really just fuck off. It's like nobody wants to think anymore, even about their own tastes, so they can rely on a bot to put games in recommended queues, and they read stats boiling down their own personal beliefs to percentiles and graphs, and the rest of the industry sits back, just, rubs its hands together, job done, letting the numbers rule the world. In conclusion, I give this idea a 5 out of 10. Oh, wait, no, review scores are different, Fuck! think that's how YouTube notifications work now. I don't know. I don't understand their algorithms. I don't understand anything they do, because they're fucking stupid. Anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand. Hang on. Just put the weighted end there and just have the stick coming out here. That's the best way of doing it. So Green Man Gaming's CEO was defending the measure, saying things like, I can't remember the exact quote, I'll Google it later, but it was more or less just saying the whole thing's about helping customers make informed decisions, which is a bit shit because it doesn't. As I said, it's about as useful as knowing how many people have wanked over Harvey Keitel today. 32, if you're interested. Thank God for me. Yeah, that'll do as an ending.